Hey everyone, I hope you're all having a lovely day and are ready for a new story. Before we get started, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. $1,100. That's what his family says I owe him. It's written on notebook paper, numbered, with a little dash before each item. And his mother read it out loud on my front steps on a Sunday, while my neighbor's kitchen window was open. But I need to back up, because the list is the end of it, not the start. 2 months ago, I asked Tate about October rent. Not even the whole thing. Jack, my landlord, had sent the renewal and it was going up $65, and I asked if he could help with the difference. He was lying on my living room floor with the fan pointed at his face, and he told me he was tapped. His check was spoken for. The belt on his truck. He owed his mom. He said the word overwhelmed about 6 times, and then asked if we could talk about it later because he'd had a long week. $65. 3 weeks after that, I found out he'd spent $600 on a phone for his ex and paid for her weekend. I'm 22, he's 21, and I met him in February through my friend Aurelia's boyfriend, Steven, who bowls with him on Tuesdays, and who I will be dealing with separately. So how I found out about the phone. Danny's birthday, first week of October, we all went bowling because Danny wanted bowling. Danny's known Tate since middle school, and Danny was already annoyed at him before we even got there, because Tate borrowed $140 off him for a trip in June and has never paid it back and calls it a misunderstanding. 4 beers in, Danny got loud and said it must be nice. He can't pay me back, but he can drop $600 on a phone for Angelica. Then Danny looked at me, and you could physically watch him realize I didn't know. Nola, his girlfriend, grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the bar. I didn't sit on it. I had Tate in the parking lot before we made it to the truck, and he gave me 3 different stories in under 4 minutes. First, it wasn't him, it was her mom. Then, he only put money toward it. Then Angelica was in a bad spot and her old phone was cracked to hell, and she needed it for work. I repeated all 3 back to him in order and asked which one he wanted to commit to. He told me I was making a scene in a parking lot. I told him I could make a much bigger one if he'd like. He didn't come home till almost 2. Then he went into what I now recognize as repair mode, which for Tate is gestures, never actual conversations. He showed up with 2 bags of groceries and set them on the counter and stood there waiting for me to say something. That night, I checked my account, and he'd paid for them with my card, the one I leave in his cup holder for gas. When I brought it up, he told me I was keeping score. He asked when I started treating him like a project instead of a boyfriend. We went until 3 in the morning, and he cried at one point, and I sat on the kitchen floor with him and told him we'd figure it out. I want you all to know I did that. That's how far into this I was. Because here's the thing I should have been paying attention to instead. I was covering everything. The lease has 1 name on it, mine. And he moved in June and never gave me $1 of rent. Not once. Not $50. I was buying his lunches because he never packed anything. His phone line was on my plan because he had a past due balance with his old carrier from before we met and couldn't open his own. I was filling a truck that gets maybe 12 miles a gallon. I bought the detergent and the toilet paper and the dog food, and I paid the whole $400 for Ivy in August, standing in a stranger's driveway in Brandon, while he held her. And I had reasons for all of it. His hours got cut in the spring. His mom Barbara sat in my kitchen in May, drinking the raspberry seltzer I keep buying, and told me Tate's never been good with money because his dad Jonathan walked out when he was 9 and left them with a repossessed car and $400, and Tate's whole life is him running from turning into that guy. I used that story to excuse things for 5 straight months. Every time he came up short, I heard Barbara in my head telling me to be patient with him. My neighbor Philip figured it out way before I did. He rents the other half of my duplex, and he's known Jack 20 years, and in July he told me over the fence that he'd never once seen a man sit in a truck on his phone while a woman carried in every single grocery bag. I defended Tate. I said he'd worked a double. Then I stood in my own driveway feeling like an idiot. Okay, so about 2 weeks after the bowling thing, Nola and I caught the same shift, and she asked me, not even in a mean way, more like she assumed I already knew, whether Tate went to Kansas City too. She went to school with Angelica and follows her. They're not friends. Angelica had put up pictures from a weekend down there, a hotel, some pool thing, 2 other girls tagged, and there was a caption thanking somebody, and Nola thought it was strange. I didn't confront him that night either. For 4 days, I asked him casual questions like I was collecting them. Where'd you go Saturday? Who was that texting you at your grandma's? How much was the belt? Because I never saw a receipt. And he answered every single one of them badly, and by Thursday I had him boxed in so tight that when I finally sat down across from him at my own kitchen table and asked him flat out if he paid for her weekend, He didn't even bother building a lie. He said yes. And then he told me why. And the why is what I still can't get past. He said Angelica's family always thought he was cheap. Her mother made comments at holidays. Her stepdad once asked him if he was planning on getting a real job someday. He said he wasn't going to let those people keep thinking that about him. He said Angelica's been through it lately and she deserves nice things. And when I said, what about me? What about $65? What about the fact that I haven't bought myself anything since June? He told me I should be happy with whatever he decides I'm worth. I asked him to say it again, and he said it again. Didn't blink. Then added that I was proving his point by getting emotional about it. So I took his line off my plan right there while he watched me do it. Told him the card was done, gas was done, lunches were done, groceries were his half or nothing. He laughed. He genuinely thought I'd fold by Sunday. That week he tried everything except paying for anything. He told me I was being petty. He told me his mother was going to hear about how I was treating him. He said if I loved him, I wouldn't nickel and dime somebody going through a hard time. He asked me, out loud, with a straight face, how I expected him to eat. He lasted 11 days. And in those 11 days, I watched something I'd apparently been refusing to see for 5 months, which is that this man cannot make it through a week on his own money. He was putting $15 of gas in at a time. He borrowed $40 off Steven on a Tuesday, and I only know because Aurelia told me. He asked me twice to just cover him till Friday, and Friday came and went both times. He went 6 days with no phone service at all, because he couldn't clear the old balance to open a plan, walking around tethering to other people's Wi-Fi like it's 2013. That's when I actually started looking at what he has. And the answer is nothing. He drives a 2011 Dakota that his grandmother Louisa put the money down on when he was 19 with no credit. And the title is in her name, not co-signed, hers. And it stayed that way for 4 years, because as long as it's her name, he's on her insurance, which is cheaper. He's never paid her back for the deposit or for the $600 she put into the transmission last winter. She keeps track of it too, on a list on her refrigerator, updated in Sharpie under a magnet shaped like a rooster. Every single thing she's given any grandkids since 2019. I saw it the first time I ate at her table and thought it was a joke. It's not a joke. It's the whole system. Louisa's got real money from selling her husband's shop, and she's told all of them she's putting a down payment on a house for whichever grandkid proves they're steady. One of them. And Tate wants it so badly, it's basically his entire personality. He told me on the 4th of July, on a tailgate with a beer in his hand, that all he has to do is keep looking better than his cousin Angelo for another year or two and it's his. Which explains why his cousin asked me at a cookout in July if it was true that Tate had been covering my rent while I was between shifts. I laughed. I thought Angelo was messing with me. He wasn't. That's what Tate had been telling them. So he packed 2 duffel bags and took Ivy's bowl and her leash, which is its own separate war, and moved back into Barbara's basement, and told me on the way out the door that I did this to myself. My dad found out because I made the mistake of telling my mom. Roscoe wanted to get in the car that night, and Carla spent an hour talking him out of it while I sat there listening to my parents argue about whether a 21-year-old deserves to get yelled at in a driveway. My mom keeps telling me boys that age are dumb, but not evil, which is the least useful sentence ever assembled by a human being. And a week after he moved out, Barbara and Louisa and his sister Allison pulled into my driveway on a Sunday, and Barbara had the paper in her hand. Handwritten. In Louisa's handwriting. Same numbering, same little dashes, exactly like the thing on the refrigerator. They'd itemized me. Update, first, to everybody asking about the dog. Ivy is asleep on my feet right now, she's staying. And that turned into its own war, which I'll get to. So the list. Let me actually go through it. Because I've had 2 weeks to look at this thing and it gets worse the longer you sit with it. Item 1 was the deposit on the duplex. He did not pay the deposit. I paid it in March, 3 months before he ever set foot in here as a resident. I said that out loud on my own porch, and Barbara told me that in Tate's mind, what he spent on me over the summer added up to about what a deposit would be, so it evens out. In his mind. Item 2, half the dog. $400. I paid the entire $400 with my own card in a stranger's driveway in Brandon. Item 3, the microwave, which he did actually buy. Take the microwave. I hope it brings them joy. Item 4 was gas money for hauling my things, and that refers to the one time in June he borrowed his uncle's trailer to move my dresser 11 blocks. And then at the bottom, underlined twice, $1,100 for what she called his contribution to the household. Grass. The porch step. Oil changes. She said that has value, and if I'm going to start putting a price on lunches and a phone line, then it goes both ways. And I hate that she wasn't completely wrong about one thing, which is that I counted first. I'm the one who said out loud that I was done paying for him. And she took that sentence and turned it into an invoice and kept handing it back to me like a gotcha. You wanted to count. So let's count. Louisa didn't say a word during any of it. She stood at the bottom of the steps holding her purse with both hands. I finally asked her directly if she believed any of it, because she's fed me at her table probably 15 times since February. And she told me she doesn't get in the middle, but a young man shouldn't be made to feel like a boarder in his own home. Boarder. That's his word. He used it on me at 3 a.m. on the kitchen floor in September, that I make him feel like a boarder paying rent for existing. So I knew exactly whose chair he'd been sitting in, running that line, probably with a plate of food in front of him. I told them what he said to me, that I should be happy with whatever he decides I'm worth. I said if they want a number written down, there it is, that's his number. Take it up with him. Barbara said she doesn't believe he said it that way. I said I'd love for him to come say it in front of her. She said I'm twisting it because I'm hurt. Allison stood halfway between the equinox and the porch the whole time, not saying anything, doing that thing where somebody is visibly wishing they were dead. And Barbara, I swear on my life, said we could handle the money separately from the wedding, because Allison shouldn't have her day ruined. I laughed. I asked if I'm supposed to hand them $1,100 on a Sunday afternoon and then stand next to Allison in a $200 dress I already paid for, and smile in the photos. Allison finally spoke up and said this is exactly why she didn't want to come, that she told them to just call me. And Barbara spun around and told her nobody asked her. And then those two went at each other in my driveway about who made who come. Allison got in the car and slammed the door. They stood out there arguing over the roof for another 10 minutes. Philip came out with his hands in his jacket pockets and asked if I wanted him to say something. I told him no. And then he mentioned, totally offhand, that Jack had asked him last month whether Tate was on the lease and he told Jack no. And Jack said good. Keep it that way. That's the whole route. Two old men talking over a fence in July. And it mattered later. I didn't call Tate screaming. I sent him one text. Your grandmother wrote it in her handwriting. And he called me 11 minutes later, and we were on the phone almost 2 hours. He opened with total denial. No idea they were coming. Not his list. His mom gets like this. Half an hour later, he admitted he'd told them what he wanted back. 20 minutes after that, he admitted he sat there while Louisa wrote it down. And he kept circling back to how he never told them to actually drive over here. Like that was the part that made him innocent. Then I asked how he paid for Kansas City if he was so tapped in September. And he told me he sold his Xbox and some of his dad's old tools. And I told him no, he didn't. Because the Xbox is sitting in Barbara's basement, I saw it in the background of Allison's story last week when she was showing off decorations for the party. He went off, yelling, I'm watching him, I'm obsessed. This is exactly what he told his mother about me. And then he said, and please sit with this, that Angelica never made him feel like he had to prove anything. That she never asked him for a dime, and that's why he wanted to do things for her. She never asked him for a dime, because she has her own apartment and her own paycheck and he doesn't live inside her life. I told him that. I told him he can't tell the difference between being asked for help and being disrespected, and the only reason Angelica gets the good version of him is she costs him money and I cost him effort. He told me I sound like my mother, which, by the way, my mother has been driving me up a wall. She keeps calling to ask if I've considered that he's young and scared. And last week she suggested I just eat the $1,100 to keep the peace because I'll be seeing these people at a wedding. My dad heard her say it and lost it. Then Roscoe called Barbara himself. Twice. I did not ask him to do that, and it made everything worse. Because Barbara sent me a paragraph about how she doesn't appreciate being harassed by a grown man, and how she raised 2 kids alone and doesn't need lectures from anybody. My parents had a screaming match about it on a Thursday, and my mom announced she's staying out of it, which lasted roughly a day and a half. Now the dog situation. Because a lot of you asked. He took her bowl and her leash when he left, but he didn't take her. Then once the list existed, he started texting about how half of her is his and he wants her on weekends. 9 days of long paragraphs about how he raised her too, and I'm using her against him, and it's cruel to keep a dog from somebody who loves her. Then on a Tuesday, he showed up at the duplex when he knew I was at work. Philip was outside and told him he wasn't going in. Tate got in his face about it, and Philip, who is 60-something and does not care in the slightest, told him to go ahead and try. Tate left and texted me that my neighbor threatened him and he could have him charged with something. Then Barbara texted that the dog is on the list, and if I want to keep her, I can take $400 off the total. They billed me for my own dog and then offered me a discount on her. Okay, so here's the part I actually need to tell you. And it's why I'm not letting this go the way half my comments are telling me to. I went to Louisa's house. By myself on a Wednesday. No warning. because Barbara works Wednesdays, and I did not want her there. Louisa let me in, made me coffee like nothing had happened, sat down across from me and asked what I wanted. I asked her how much Tate told her he was giving me every month. $1,200. Half, since June. I told her the lease has one name on it, and always has. I told her Jack is a 5-minute drive from her house and Philip has known him 20 years, and either one of them will tell her the exact same thing. I told her Tate has never given me $1. Not once. Not $50, not in 5 months. She didn't take my side and she didn't argue with me. She asked me why I brought it to her instead of dealing with him. And I told her the truth, which is that he sits at her table telling her he's steady while she's got a list on her refrigerator. And I wanted her to know what she's been writing down. And then she told me something that I did not know and that I have not stopped thinking about. In June, when he told her he was paying half, she offered to help him with it. She offered him money toward my rent. And he said no. He turned it down, told her he had it handled, because taking it would have meant she'd expect to see where it went. He turned down free money from his grandmother in June so his story wouldn't fall apart. And then in September, he lay on my living room floor and told me he couldn't do $65. I did that math out loud in her kitchen, and she sat there and let me do it. Before I left, she asked me one more thing, whether he was still driving the Dakota. I said yes, obviously, and she said okay. And that was it. That's all she said. I didn't think anything of it at the time. So here's where I'm at. And here's why walking away isn't happening. I've been sitting here doing an inventory of this man's entire life, and there is nothing in it that belongs to him. The truck is in her name. The insurance is in her name. He sleeps in his mother's basement next to the Xbox he told me he sold. He has no lease anywhere with his name on it. He's never had a bill in his own name in his life. And he still doesn't have a phone plan. He's been tethering to other people's Wi-Fi for weeks. And he owes people. He owes Danny $140 since June. And he owes Allison $400. Which I only found out because she brought it up in the driveway fight and then texted me afterward asking me not to repeat it. Because she's been quietly covering him since August, so their mother wouldn't get on him about it. Every single person propping him up is already annoyed with him, for reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with me. Danny's been annoyed since June. Allison's been swallowing it since August. Louisa just found out the list on her refrigerator has a lie sitting on it. And Barbara is currently housing a grown man with no phone, no plan, and no exit date, while telling everybody she knows that I'm the one who ruined him. The only thing holding all of that together is the version of himself he's been selling since he was 19. Allison's engagement party is Saturday. Louise is paying for it. It's at the VFW hall her friend runs. 60-something people. Jonathan is invited because Allison invited him, which set off a war in that family that I got to watch from the outside with popcorn. Barbara texted me Monday asking if I'm still coming, and whether I've thought about the list. I told her I wouldn't miss it. Final update. Shout out to whoever commented on my last post that I should stop thinking about what he'd lose in front of people and start thinking about what he'd lose in his actual week. That rewired the whole thing for me. Because you were right, 60 people finding out he's a liar costs him nothing on a Tuesday morning. So I'm going to be honest about what I did, because I planned it, I picked the day, and I'm not going to sit here pretending it just sort of happened to work out. The week before the party, I stopped fighting with him. Completely, I answered his texts like a normal human. When he sent one of those long ones about missing Ivy, I said something soft back about how she misses him too. And he took that and absolutely ran with it. Because of course he did, and by Wednesday he was calling me every night, and by Thursday he was talking about how maybe we rushed the moving in thing and maybe after the holidays we could try again. Slower this time. I let him think it. I let him talk about January and where he'd park and whether Jack would even need to know. And the entire time I asked him questions. Nothing pointed. How's the truck running? Did you ever get your own phone plan sorted? What's your mom saying about how long you're staying? He told me all of it, because he thought he was winning. The Dakota's been making a noise since Halloween, and he's been ignoring it because he doesn't have the money and won't go back to Louisa after the transmission last winter. Barbara's been on him for 6 weeks about the basement. She's got a friend who needs a place in January, and she'd rather have the $200 a week than have her son down there. And he still had no phone plan, because that old balance is still sitting there. He'd been driving out to where Angelica lives, parking in her driveway, and sitting in the truck in the dark using her Wi-Fi so he could do things on his phone. He told me that like it was a funny story about himself. That's the man who couldn't come up with $65. Saturday, VFW hall on the north side. Paper tablecloths, sheet cake, silver balloons spelling out Allison's name. I wore a green dress I already owned because I was not spending $1 more on that family, and I brought a card with 50 in it for Allison, because she never did anything to me except stand in a driveway wishing she was dead. I got there at 7, late on purpose. Hall already full. Louisa was already in her chair in the back corner by the food, which is where she always sits, so people come to her instead of the other way around. Tate found me within about a minute, hand on my elbow, doing the warm thing, asking if we could keep it civil tonight for his sister. Not one word about the list. Not one word about $1,100. Just the door held open in case he needed somewhere to go in January. I asked him if the list was still active. He told me his mom's handling that separately and tonight isn't the night. Okay. I waited until Louisa stood up and did her little thing about Allison, when the whole room was already turned toward that corner anyway. Then I sat down in the empty chair next to her. I never raised my voice one time. Not once, the entire conversation. I told her he'd been driving out to his ex's place to sit in her driveway and use her Wi-Fi because he can't open a phone line in his own name. And I told her the truck's been making a noise since October and he's been driving on it because he won't come to her again. She asked me one question: whether he still tells people that truck is his. I said yes, every single time. That was the whole conversation. 90 seconds, maybe. She got up and went and found Barbara. I didn't hear what was said between those two women, and I would genuinely pay cash money to have heard it. What I got later was from Nola, who got it from Angelo's wife, who was standing near the coat rack. Louisa asked Barbara straight out if she knew he'd never paid $1 of rent. And Barbara said she knew he'd been helping out over there. And Louisa said that's not what I asked you. And then Barbara said the thing that finished it, which was that if Louisa's got money to hand out, maybe she should hand some to the son who's been sleeping in her basement for a month eating her groceries. A month. He'd told Louisa a week. Then it came at me, because Barbara came across that hall directly at me in front of everybody. I'm trash for doing this at her daughter's party. Her son gave me a summer of his life. My father called her twice like a lunatic. She raised 2 kids alone and doesn't need a 22-year-old explaining her own family to her. And I said, loud enough for the nearest 3 tables, that her son is standing 30 feet away in a truck that isn't his, in a jacket his sister bought him, with $140 of Danny's money in his pocket since June. Danny was standing right there. Danny has been waiting 6 months for a public excuse to bring that up, and I handed it to him gift-wrapped. And I would do it again tomorrow. Danny went at him loud, in front of Allison's fiancé's entire family, none of whom had ever met any of us. And Tate did the exact 3 things he always does in order. Denied it, then reframed it as a misunderstanding between friends, then turned and came at me. Told the room I've been going through his things, watching his sister's stories, that I've spent weeks trying to get inside his family's head because he left me and I can't handle it. And Allison told her brother to shut up. Then told the room she gave him $400 in August and never told anybody because she didn't want their mother on him, and that she is done being the person in this family who quietly covers for him. Then Jonathan spoke. His dad, who Allison invited, who Tate hadn't spoken to in 4 years, who'd been standing by the drinks the entire night not talking to a single human being. He said it was interesting hearing his own kid described as somebody who lives off a woman and then bills her on the way out. Tate came apart at him, brought up the repossessed car, brought up being 9 years old, told him to get out. Barbara got in the middle and started screaming at Jonathan for showing up at all. Allison started screaming at Barbara that she invited him and it's her party. Angelo was still going about the screw-up comment from the 4th of July. And all of this was happening in a VFW hall next to a sheet cake with a knife still in it. Louisa left before the cake got cut. Angelo's wife drove her home. She did not say goodbye to Tate. And now the part that actually matters, which is not the yelling. Louisa called Jack that Monday. She got the number from Philip's wife, who goes to her church. Jack told her exactly what he told Philip in July. One name on the lease, always has been. Then she called me and asked me one question, whether he ever gave me money for rent at any point. And I said no, and she said okay, and hung up. Tuesday, she took the truck. Nothing dramatic about it. She called her insurance company and had him removed from the policy, which she can do because it's her policy. Then she told him he has until Friday to bring it to her house because she's not carrying an uninsured vehicle registered in her name. He drove it over Friday afternoon because there was no version of this where he didn't. He's 21 with no vehicle in Sioux Falls, which means he doesn't get to work, doesn't get to bowling on Tuesdays, and doesn't get to sit in his ex's driveway stealing her Wi-Fi. Then Barbara put him out, and I want to be clear that I did not do that part. Barbara did that, because Barbara now understands there is no house money coming, ever, And the difference between housing a son who's about to be handed a down payment by his grandmother and housing a son who is simply going to be there is the entire difference in the world. She gave him 3 weeks and rented the basement to her friend in January like she'd been planning all along. He went to Danny first. Danny said no, obviously, on account of the 140, and on account of Danny currently telling the story of that party to anyone who will hold still. Then Steven, which lasted 9 days. And then Aurelia and Steven broke up, not because of me. They had 6 other things going, but the bowling thing was in there, and she's barely talking to me right now, and I don't know if that comes back. That one I actually feel bad about. He never asked Angelica. Not once. All that stuff about how she deserves nice things and never made him feel like he had to prove anything. Apparently that arrangement only functioned while he was the one paying for it. She still got the phone. He's got nothing. So he's living with Jonathan. 4 years of not speaking, and now he's in the man's house, riding to work with him every morning because he has no truck. He spent his entire life terrified of turning into his father, and now he's sharing a bathroom with him. He called me about it. 2 hours, because we have never once managed to do anything short. He started with how I destroyed his family over a phone. Then that Luisa's being manipulated. Then that Angelo's been working her for months. Then back around to me. He asked me if I feel good about myself. I said yes. He said I ruined his life, and I told him he was living on 4 different people's money, and all I did was tell all 4 of them at the same time. And then he tried the walk back. That he never actually meant the thing about what I'm worth. That he was tired. It came out wrong. 2 months later, that's when he decided to unsay it. I told him I don't care whether he meant it. He's the one who put a number on me first, and he can stop telling people I'm the one who counts. His last text said I'll regret this when I'm older and that his family will never let it go. Barbara is still telling people I owe her son $1,100 and that I humiliated her on purpose, which is half true. She and Jonathan have been fighting since the party about which one of them ruined it. Allison's fiance's mother asked her to keep her family separate from Tate at the wedding, and Allison and Barbara had it out so badly that Allison stayed with a friend for 4 days. I'm not in the wedding. Allison texted me herself, said she can't have me and her brother in the same photos, said she isn't mad at me. I'm out $200 on a dress and I actually liked her, and that's the part that bothers me more than any of the rest of this. My mom told me at Thanksgiving that I embarrassed an 80-year-old woman in front of her friends and went too far. I told her Luisa's the one who took the truck, not me. All I did was sit in her kitchen and tell her the truth. My dad told my mom to drop it and they didn't speak the rest of the day. So that's the climate in my parents' house now. Rent went up $65 like it was always going to, and I'm covering it by myself, which is what I was doing the whole time anyway. Ivy stayed. Nobody has mentioned that $400 since the party. Everybody keeps waiting for me to say I feel bad about how much of this landed on people who didn't have it coming. I don't. I knew it would, and I did it anyway. He told me I should be happy with whatever he decides I'm worth. He's 21, living with his dad, no truck, no phone, and every single thing he ever had belonged to somebody else, so I went and told all of them what he was actually worth.